this relation with like other, especially for example, like loved ones dealing with, their loved ones dealing with addiction or suicide or prolonged suffering, which can be really difficult experiences. Or anything you can offer or add that beyond what you already have that would help such individuals surrender more to that experience and find more acceptance with it?
Yes, so first understand that whenever you are in a close relationship with any being that you find yourselves in this reality, that there has been an agreement set forth ahead of time, meaning before you incarnated, speaking of time, before you incarnated, there has been some sort of contract or agreement that you would come together for the purpose of having certain experiences, expressing certain qualities, and evolving. Experience, expression, evolution. So you have set in motion these contracts ahead of time, these agreements to meet up and work on certain aspects or have certain experiences within the context of the relationship, if you will. So you have set these up on purpose. So understanding that first is important because it's difficult when you find yourself in a relationship with a loved one where you feel helpless or powerless and you don't understand why it's happening and you feel like there's nothing you can do to help them. Understand that you've already set into motion an agreement that would help you to have a certain experience or cultivate a certain quality, express a certain quality. So if you look at it from the soul perspective, sometimes it's wiser to think about, well, in this experience of this relationship that I find myself in, what experience is my soul wishing to have, and what quality is my soul wishing to cultivate as a result of this experience? Or how is my soul wishing to evolve as a result of this relationship? If you start to look at it from the soul's perspective, from this higher perspective, then that relationship or the circumstances of the relationship might start to make a little bit more sense to you. The relationship might also exist to show to you, because again, reality is reflective, what thought forms, misperceptions you are holding in your consciousness. Because whatever the circumstance is that's unfolding, you could think of that as neutral. But whatever it is bringing up or triggering within the contents of your consciousness, that is what you want to look at. Because it's hitting something within you, like a tuning fork, it's hitting something within you that already exists. So there's a mental perception that already exists. There's an emotional charge that goes along with that mental perception that already exists within you. The circumstances of that relationship are hitting that imprint that already exists within you and are striking it like a tuning fork, and you're starting to feel that emotion, that residue from the past. That's another way of looking at it in terms of the work that we've been presenting to you, in terms of what is this hitting within me that could be residue from the past? What emotion do I feel? And then we would say the number one task for the person who is witnessing the loved one in an addictive pattern or struggling, the number one task for the person witnessing would be to notice what emotion comes up in me as I am witnessing my loved one. Is it helplessness? Is it powerlessness? Is whatever the emotion is, feel that first. As we have mentioned before with this process, feel the impact of the experience on your system, and then begin, once you have discharged the emotion, as we have spoken of before, then begin to look at the mental perceptions that might have been causing that emotional charge. That's the work for the person observing. The result of that is that the person observing then becomes a space of compassion, a space of presence, which is actually more healing for the person that they are in relationship with, rather than pushing against. Because usually the mental perception that is active within the mind of the person observing is, this should not be happening. That's a mental perception held in the energy field. This should not be happening. That's a common misperception across the board with many people. This should not be happening. The reason that's a misperception is because if something is happening in reality, you know that it should be happening because it is. And if you argue against the fact that it is happening with your mental perception saying it shouldn't be happening, you're starting to block the flow of energy. So first accept that if something is happening, that it should be happening. Now, in the case of a loved one, of course you don't want to see them struggle. Of course you don't want to see them suffer. Of course not. However, you are not their higher power. You are not their soul. You do not know what their divine blueprint contains. You don't know what lessons they wanted to learn or what experiences they wanted to have in this lifetime. So you can't actually be the judge of whether something should be happening or shouldn't be happening, because you are not part of that higher perspective that is unfolding in their life. And many of you can think back upon the most difficult circumstances that you have gone through in your life. And now that you're on the other side of it, you can say, I'm so grateful that happened. I'm so grateful that happened. I would not take that back. I wouldn't have said that in the middle of it. I know in the middle of it, I would never have wanted to be having this experience, but now I'm on the other side of it. I see why it happened. I see the qualities that it cultivated in me. I see the experiences and most importantly, the evolution that occurred as a result of that experience. So when you're observing a loved one and they are suffering in some way, the greatest gift that you can give to them is your presence. And another way of saying another term for presence is also this energy field of acceptance, that I know I don't understand why this is happening, but I know that there's a reason that it's happening. And so I'm holding the energetic field of source energy, of acceptance, of unconditional love, not just unconditional love for the person, but also unconditional love for the situation. I'm accepting and I'm bringing love to the situation unconditionally, meaning I don't understand why it's happening, but I'm just bringing love and acceptance to it, because I know that behind every circumstance and behind every situation and behind every relationship exists a divine order. Divine order is what underlies everything in the universe. So you don't know why something is happening, but you know that it should be happening because it is, and because divine order underlies all of creation, including the situation with your loved one that is having a challenging experience.